Bear with me. I'm doing a story on sort of the history of this defense that you're playing.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering how far do the influences go back? I mean, can you go back to like the old Raiders and how they played press and maybe Floyd Peters and what he did?
I know, Coach Pete always told stories back then. I couldn't get you many details on all that on my recall of what those stories were, but I'm sure with Coach Carroll and Coach Kiffin, I mean, there's a lot of football knowledge. And so to really pinpoint where all this stuff came from, that'd be more of a question for him.
Well, how does, just with Coach Kiffin, and, obviously it was a Tampa 2, it was more of a 2 deep thing, now it's more of a 1 deep. How did you get from the 2 to the 1?
The principles of it all remain the same, where you're so much vision and emphasizing fundamentals and technique over scheme. So there's similarities, obviously, but and if you really looked at it from a scheme standpoint, you could kind of say, well, he's just like the hook player, or he's just like the buzz player, whatever you want to call it. But so there's similarities there, and how it got to cover one was, it's all in philosophy and how you're trying to approach things, I guess.
Are you able to rely on your familiarity with that offense, having practiced against it during your time there, or do you look at it and it's drastically different?
There's some similarities, but there's it's been almost 3 years now, so a little over 3 years. So I'm sure there's a lot of nuances. I mean, I couldn't even tell you what the verbiage was back then. I don't have the recall on that, but when you watch a tape, it's still they have a ton of playmakers, and they do a great job putting those playmakers in positions to make plays, and that has remained consistent. And of course, it always starts with their run game, and they try to establish a line of scrimmage, and Coach Cable does a great job getting those guys ready to play. So again, just from a familiarity standpoint and their message, understanding what they try to do offensively maybe, but they're a well-coached football team, and they've got playmakers all over the place.
What were some of your more memorable duties when you were up there?
It was a cool time, just from a memory standpoint. Just swallowing and absorbing all that information that was there, from philosophy to Coach Bradley and preparation, Coach Norton and his view from a player perspective. There was just so much information to gather that I had not been exposed to as an individual. So my growth as a man, as a coach, as a person, it just that would be the most memorable thing for me, just the overall information that was allotted to us.
In some ways, that defense that year was historically good. When you were in the middle of it, did you realize that you were part of something special there?
Yeah, because I was in Houston for 6 years before that, and we had decent defenses, but you recognize, it was like right when we got there, like, man, these guys are a lot different than what we had in Houston at that time. And to see those guys just taste a little bit of success, and to see Earl, Richard, Cam, Bobby Wagner was a rookie, KJ Wright, and then once Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill came in, it was like they just took that thing completely over. And so it's a testament to them, the leadership that they provide. And so it's, best coach teams are teams that coach themselves, and those guys are well-oiled in that regard.
See any of that in your guys here, that they could, obviously not yet, it's a development process, but do you have that kind of leadership, the kind of player that you feel could eventually kind of coach himself?
I think it's in every player to be a servant leader and to really provide leadership to all the people around them. Servant leadership to me is the ultimate form of leadership, where anyone from a rookie to a veteran can put himself in a position to help everyone around them get better. Doesn't matter whether you're the star or not. You can provide leadership. So have those guys come to fruition yet? I have an idea. I'm not going to name names or anything, but I'm excited for this group, because they really believe in the things they're capable of, and they really believe in the system. And it's cool to see other teams like Jacksonville, Atlanta, Seattle, and now the Chargers to have success, and them understanding, like, well, shoot, they can do that too. There's a lot of tape for them to watch to show that what we're asking they are capable of, especially this group. And so from a maturation standpoint, they're so young. I do believe that it's in this group.
kind of influence did Pete have on you as your development as a coach?
We'll give that to him.
What kind of influence did Pete Carroll have on you?
The biggest influence I took from Coach Carroll is from a philosophy standpoint, understanding who you are as a person, understanding what's important to you as a person, and how to apply it to the message that you're trying to deliver. Understanding that everybody has a style, and no style, every style is the right style, provided you apply it in the right way. And so just from again, philosophy standpoint and speaking to people and handling people is where my greatest growth from Coach Carroll was.
You mentioned the playmakers on Seattle's offense. That offensive line has a few new faces. They lost their left tackle in preseason. What are you seeing from that group so far, just in the first week?
From Seattle, like I said, I think Coach Cable is one of the finest O-line coaches in all football. The message he delivers is awesome from a physicality standpoint, and I know that whatever trouble they had last week will not be an issue this week. And so, in our mind, we're getting ready to prepare a team that's very well coached. And I never take an O-line for granted. Never take a player for granted. I do believe that they're going to be very well prepared to play us on Sunday, especially at home.
See them having
How
trouble.
did Kowalski do in his single high safety?
I thought he did a really good job. He had a couple of plays that he wishes he could have back, but he played fast. He was physical. Had a key takeaway. But like everybody else on the defense, they would all tell you the same thing, that there's a couple plays that each player wishes that they could have back. Thought we could have played a very dominant football game on Sunday, and it was really cool for those guys to see it on Monday, that we were close to playing a dominant game as opposed to the game that we did play.
40-yard pass, obviously you should have knocked the guy out of bounds, but how did he get so open, the wide receiver?
There was a mistake in coverage, and he got open.
Looked like one of the cornerbacks was playing man while the rest of the defense was playing three deep zone. Is that an issue of preparation focus? How does that type of breakdown happen on that play?
I believe that the guys prepare. I do believe that. I know we repped it a couple of times in practice, and sometimes it's that's a cool part of this league. You can cover things 100 times. A player can go through it. A player can be very comfortable in what their assignments are, but you can never simulate the exhaustion and the amount of hyper focus that you got to get to when you're just dog tired. That's the challenge, and to be able to get to that point within a 20-second time frame. You get the call, you get aligned, you survey the formation, and the ball snap, and you're exhausted. That's why I'll always say a player never gets paid enough in this league for what we ask them to do and the things that they actually do on a day-to-day basis and on game day. It is hard. Now, you wish that those mistakes don't happen. They do, but now how can we fix it? And of course, we go back to the eraser, getting that thing out of bounds, giving us a chance to play another down.
Camp Newton wasn't sacked Sunday. There's some metrics out there that indicate he wasn't pressured very often either. How do you diagnose the issues with the pass rush?
I thought they did a great job, even leading into the game. They did a great job protecting Cam. I mean, he's got one of the deeper set points in the league at almost 8.5, 9 yards, and their offensive line does a great job holding the point and giving him. He's such a big body; he can stand in there and take a pounding. And we do recognize that we need to get after the quarterback. We do need to affect him. And like I said, every week is different. We're going to approach this week different than we did with Cam. Just from a D-line standpoint, I don't know if I could say it's much different. They're both running quarterbacks, so they both present very similar issues. But there is no question it's got to be better.
What are your objectives with Reuben Foster in this time when he's not able to play? What do you want him to be doing?
Learn, just watch tape, try to take in as much information as he can, and to really focus on his body, to getting it right. But if he can come out of this really understanding what football, the way we're being attacked, and to be able to really see what teams do to our scheme, would be very beneficial for him.
Does he not understand that now?
Of course, he does, but there's nothing like live reps, and there's nothing like seeing it. you can coach it till you're blue in the face, but until you actually see it or actually even go through it, it's I always mess with the backers or even defensive players in general that there's nothing like getting scarred. You never forget a scar, and it's when you're performing a technique and you get exposed at that technique. Getting scarred is what helps you grow, and so for him, being able to see that through his teammates, you know, like I always saw my brother get beat by my mom once in a while, my dad, and I'd be like, darn, I'm not going to do that. So I felt like I had great growth. But didn't have to actually go through it to learn from it, you know, so kind of the same thing without.
Robert, you were with Seattle during the height of the rivalry with the 49ers. In terms of extreme violence, were those among the most extreme violence games you witnessed?
They were physical, but like we felt on defense that we brought that every week. It didn't matter the opponent. Every game's a championship game. Even here, every game's a championship game, and you treat every opponent the same. And when you play a great team, you'll make them look normal. And when you play a poor team, you'll just beat the daylights out of them. And that was the mindset we took every week. And that's the mindset we're trying to develop here, that it doesn't matter the opponent. You play to your level. You play to your highest level. And it always comes back to us and how we operate. And so those were fun, but it never was about San Francisco. It was about us and showcasing who we were to the world.
More. Russell Wilson changed his body a little bit in the offseason. Has that, I mean, it's a very small sample, obviously, but has that changed his game at all? Is he a little bit different?
Looks the same to me.
Okay.
Runs around, makes plays, great arm. He's a problem.
When you said scars earlier, are you talking about making mistakes and sort of learning from those?
Yeah, like getting beat in man coverage. You know, just the technique you use, and you're like, darn, that technique. You notch it up as a scar in his belt. So he'll learn from it, but hopefully he can recognize those from the game and just recognize what's happening to his brothers in his room, and so he can learn from those hopefully, and he should. He's a really smart kid too.
Had some busted coverages, and you gave up 23 points, but you didn't give up very many yards, and you were very tough against the run. I believe it was like 3.1 yards per carry. So how would you assess the defense overall in that Week 1 game?
We didn't win. There's two types of mindset. There are those who are happy to be the reason why you to not be the reason why you lost, if I'm making sense. And then there are those who are happy to be the reason why we won. And for us to reach and arrive on stage, we've got to understand that we've got to dictate games. And once we reach that mindset that we will dictate the outcome of a football game, that's when we will have arrived on stage, if you will.
You mentioned earlier that you felt you were close to having a good game, or earlier in this press conference. So did I read that wrong?
No, I felt like we could have dominated. I felt like we could have kept them under 10. That's always a challenge, is how much further can you push it. And I do think Carolina's a really good football team. I think their O-line is fantastic. I think Cam, you can say he was rusty, but that's Cam. He makes unbelievable throws, and he's just a big person you got to deal with. The receivers are real good, and so just from our standpoint, looking over the tape, a lot of the mistakes were things that we have complete control over, and that's what I'm excited about moving forward.
All right, last one. Rashard Robinson was saying that on the fumble that he caused, that McCaffrey was going to give him the dead leg, and sometimes when that happens, they're not paying attention to their ball security. Do you like to see that? I mean, obviously he could have missed that tackle because he was going for the ball so blatantly, but what's your view of that?
I don't mind what he did, because I believe Rashard felt his pursuit coming from the inside, and so even if he did miss, he was going to get just blown up by Ray. So for him to take a shot at the ball, that's what we preach. It's all about the ball. It's everything. And he had a shot. He tried Christian. I think we got the ball out 3 times on him. Twice they said he was down, but it was close. And so we were very well aware that ball was popping out. And so it's just a matter of time for us to get it out.
All right. Thanks, guys.